welcome to Insightful Player TV. I hope you can hear me now. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent.
Hello.
That was
How are you doing?
excellent, excellent, excellent. It's so great to have you here, Jason. This is such a treat.
No,
Well,
thank you very much.
oh, you're doing such
I think this is
beautiful
an honor
work.
to be on your show.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. It's an honor to have you. My goodness. The Mutual Admiration Society over here, right? So I just want to introduce Jason in just a moment, but I want to welcome everyone to Insightful Player TV on minglemediatv.com. And my name is Chrissy Carew, and I'm the founder of Insightful Player. And Insightful Player is a bold, very bold movement of hope that features inspiring stories and programs about NFL great guys. These are guys that are out there in the world under the radar doing beautiful work. They could care less about getting publicity. They just genuinely want to support you. And, you know, we have the book coming out in August, but in the meantime, we have a free ebook for you that you can download on insightfulplayer.com. Insightfulplayer.com. And we want to hear from you, and you'll check out our roster and let us know who you want us to have on. And please chat with Jason tonight. We are so fortunate to have Jason Brown here. He's from the St. Louis Rams. One of my earbuds always falls out. He's a really very kind-hearted man, very kind man. He's a devoted Christian. He has boundless determination and discipline. You wait till you hear his stories. And listen to this. In 2008, he founded Wisdom for Life. It's a church ministry. He shares wisdom with youth to have a blessed, righteous, and purpose-driven life. It's really touching. Jason, welcome to Insightful Player TV.
Thank you again. Thank you for having me, Miss Chrissy. It's an honor to be here.
Oh, great. If any of the kids are around or your wife, you know, they're welcome to pop in and say hi anytime during this interview. And what I know sometimes when we get into these go ahead.
Oh, my son, he's watching Nick Jr. right now, so that's one of his treats after he gets out of school. And our daughter, our newborn, she's taking a nap right now. And my wife, this was one of her first days going back to work. She's not going back to work full time, but she is a dentist, and they needed her to fill in for the main doctor there. So she's been working, all day right now, and I know she can't wait to get back home.
Well, you're going to have to give her a foot massage or something, huh? When she gets back?
Yes. Back rubs. That's her preference.
Oh, she likes back rubs. Well, you're a great husband.
Back
You really
rubs.
are.
Yes.
Well, we have a lot to get into today, and I just want to check with your time to see if you need to get off right at 7:30 sharp, or if we go over a little bit, if that's okay. Whatever.
No, I'm fine. I'm at your disposal.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm at your disposal. I'm here.
Okay, great. Well, there is so much to talk about with Jason Brown. That's all there is to it. But as always, with a lot of the players, because the listeners are so interested, can you share, what the lockout is like for you, Jason?
Well, right now we're really up in lingo right now, and there's a lot of players that are hurting and struggling, with the transition from last year and to right now. They have an overabundance of time on their hands and really not knowing what to do with it. And even though most of the players receive a bulk of their income and salary during the season, there are off-season roster bonuses and workout bonuses that players receive and that players depend on and rely on. So right now, to tell you the truth, even though there is a big perception out there that all NFL players are well off, there are a few guys that are hurting and struggling, and we would really like to get back to work as fast as possible.
And do you have any predictions for the near future with that, Jason?
Hopefully we do have a cutoff date, and we're saying that is July the 15th, pretty much a month from now, and we're saying that date is the day that for us the lockout needs to be over. There needs to be some type of resolution at the bargaining table for us to come back and salvage our 2011 season, because if not, it could postpone or drag into the preseason, and we could miss a couple of preseason games, which are very important for our preparation, or it could mean that we have a shortened season, and some people are predicting right now that is there going to be a season? Hopefully yes, but it could be a shortened season. By how much? We don't know. It could drop from 16 games maybe down to 8 games.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, that would be horrible as a football fan, and there are so many football fans in the world. It's like amazing. So we're all praying that things will get settled as soon as possible, and I hope it gets settled even before mid-July.
Thank you.
And surprise all of you. That would be great.
Thank you.
Yeah, that must be
Yes.
tough. Do you guys all get together? Do you get together during this?
Yes. Now there are several player-led workouts through teams all throughout the NFL, and one thing that the Rams players have done, we scheduled a mini camp, a player-led mini camp for ourselves at a local university, and this was the week before a Memorial Weekend, and all of the skill guys came into town, all of the defensive guys, defensive backs, offensive linemen, and of course led by our star quarterback Sam Bradford, who is a remarkable young man, and he's the guy that we're saying is going to take us there and take us to the top. And we had a great workout that whole week. It was a 4-day mini camp before it broke short, and then it was a wonderful experience that several of the players, we were able to head down to Joplin, Missouri, and bring a little bit of relief and support to the people down there. And I'm sure all of the viewers know that Joplin was devastated by tornadoes about several weeks ago. Completely devastated.
Absolutely. That was awful, wasn't it? So did you see any
Yes,
of that?
it was. To tell you the truth, we wanted to see a few of the disaster areas, but they said you really don't want to satisfy your curiosity. They said it's so bad that you really just pretty much want to stay away from that site. So what we did was we visited the relief center, and what they've done was they took a local university and their gymnasium and their practice gymnasium, they've turned it into an American Red Cross and FEMA relief center. So we were able to go there and visit and mingle and play with the kids that day.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yep.
See? That's wonderful that you did that.
Yep.
It's so sad that happened to that area. My goodness. I bet you that was a real lift for those kids.
Yes, and now looking at the news, they're calling for more tornadoes in the area of here, St. Louis, tonight. So we just have to keep a lookout for what's going on.
Yes, definitely.
Yep.
You be safe, Jason. You be safe.
I will. Yeah, thank you. But it's but it's not just here. It's all across America. I even saw videos of Massachusetts, all the way up there. I mean, places where you hardly ever see storms. It's an eye-opening experience as to what's going on with the weather patterns all across our country.
Yeah, I live right on the Massachusetts border, so yeah, that was like a week or so ago. It was really tough.
Yes.
So you have to, Stephanie, I think I'm going to have to use headsets from now on. These kids, I can't get these things to stay in my ears. I don't know why. I'll have to get my husband to drill them down and make these little buds smaller or something. So, well, we have so much to talk about, Jason. You have such a great smile. You know what I think would be great? If you could just share a little bit about your amazing grandfather, Jasper. I just was so touched by that story.
Yes.
And that's your roots. I mean, can you talk about your grandfather?
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Jasper Brown, born in Yanksville in Caswell County, North Carolina, and it was well in the middle of the civil rights movement, where my grandfather, he was a farmer, owned more than 200 acres of land, and that's how he made his living, working the soil of the land and farming the land. And but yet he knew that he didn't want his children to have to go through such a labor field and arduous life the way that he did. And he knew that the only way that they would be able to overcome that was through education. Well, at that time, the school systems, of course, they were segregated, and the white schools versus the black schools, the comparison in education there really was no comparison. My father would tell me stories of how everything that they received were hand-me-downs. Some kids, they take for granted, receiving, brand new textbooks with updated information, nowadays. Well, the textbooks that they received were, at least 10 years old. Whenever he opened up a book, it had about, 10 names in it, and he saw names like Little Johnny and Susie, and he knew that they were hand-me-downs from the white schools, because they received the best at that time and the cream of the crop, while some of the black schools on the other side of town were receiving a second-rate education. So what my grandfather did was, he knew that he would have to petition the school board to allow his children to be enrolled into the white schools, and for the schools to be desegregated. And it was a long and arduous battle, and it took several years. Whereas in his petitions were declined one time after another, and my grandfather, he was the president of the local chapter of the NAACP at the time, and he received tremendous support from the rest of the blacks in the community until the NAACP started to receive threats from, of course, the KKK at the time. They started to receive threats on their family, threats on their lives, and things of that nature. So that kind of disorganized everything, and a lot of people, they were so fearful of their lives that a lot of progress came to a halt. But my grandfather, because he was the president and he was the spearhead, he was relentless. And he was relentless in his work ethic. He was relentless in his faith, and he said that I'm not going to back down. So he continued to petition until, fortunately and luckily, what year was it, Mother? 1962? 63? I'm sorry, my mother wrote a book on this story, and it's called Dead End Road. So I have to make sure I get my facts straight from Deborah Brown, the author of the book. And so it was 1963 where they finally agreed to allow the schools to be desegregated in Yanksville and Caswell County. Well, they had even posted it in the newspaper in bold print, and it said that from several members of the KKK, they said that if you put your black children in our white schools, we're going to hang you. And everyone knew that this message was directed towards my grandfather, Jasper Brown. And even outside of their farm, in a very large tree, there was a noose hanging from that tree, and it hung there for months, and no one ever took it down. And everyone that drove by knew that that was a warning and a threat for my grandfather, Jasper Brown. Well, on the actual day that the schools were desegregated, my grandfather took my father, Lunsford Brown, and his two other siblings to school that day. And my grandfather was so filled with anxiety and nervousness, because he knew that more than likely they were going to plan an attempt on his life that day. So he went to the local cleaners, and before getting to the cleaners, there was a police officer that pulled him over and searched his vehicle, and this was strategically done so that if there was a threat, a potential threat on his life, they were searching for weapons, so that he would not have a weapon to defend himself. After that incident, my grandfather continued and went to the cleaners, and the gentleman behind the counter, handed my grandfather his shirts and his package, and he said, Jasper, hold the clothes from the bottom of the bag. They're heavy. And my grandfather paid this, very little attention. He just continued to go about his way. He just knew that he had to get back home as fast and as safely as possible, to the safety of his surroundings, where he would at least be able to have, a shotgun at home to protect himself. Well, on his way home, out of nowhere, there were two vehicles filled with white men, and they plowed my grandfather, Jasper's vehicle, off of the road and forced him down into a ditch. And at that time, the gentlemen from the cars, I see it was about 4 per car, 8 gentlemen total, and they came out with clubs and baseball bats because they had planned on beating him halfway to death before actually hanging him and lynching him in the tree of what they had plotted to do so months before in advance. And my grandfather was such a faithful and a God-fearing and a prayerful man that he did the only thing that he knew that he could do, and he put his hands on the steering wheel and he began to pray. And in the middle of his prayers, while praying to God, by this time they had bust open the vent window, the guys with the clubs, and they had reached in, unlocked the door, and they had opened up the door. And at the very instance where they had laid their hands on him to drag him out of the car, God came to Jasper in his prayers, and God said, Jasper, hold the clothes from the bottom of the bag. They're heavy. And at that instance, grandfather reached to his right to the bottom of the clothes bag that he had just picked up from the laundry, and in the bottom he found a fully loaded .38 revolver, and he just started shooting and wailing, and thank God that, I mean, if it had not been for the power of prayer, the scriptures say that if no enemy formed against you shall prosper, and that God will always give you a way out against evil, against injustice, and that's what he did for my grandfather.
Oh my God, that's such a.
And his life was saved that day.
That is such one of the most amazing stories I've ever heard in my life. How does that must just bring you to tears?
Yes, ma'am. And luckily, well, yes, ma'am. I'm holding it back right now.
You don't have to.
He did shoot. He did shoot 2 of the men, and luckily, they were injured, but they were not killed. But at that time, they scattered and they ran away. But grandfather knew that he had to somehow find refuge, and if he had gone to jail, even the police officers, corrupt members of the police officers, they would have locked him up and then turned him right back over to the KKK. So my grandfather knew that he had to get into the protective custody of the NAACP, because at that time the NAACP had their own private investigators at that time as well. So Grandpa, he was on the run before he surrendered himself to the police. And this is also a very neat story how this works out. All of his friends and family members that lived nearby, he knocked on their doors, and I guess at this time they had already known the story of that he was running from the police, and they turned him away, and they said, Jasper, no, you cannot find shelter here, because if they find out that we're harboring you and that we're helping you, they're going to, they might try and kill us as well, or cause harm to our family. So he went to the last friend that he knew would not turn him away, and he knocked on his front door, and his good friend said, Jasper, no, you cannot stay here neither. He said,
Oh my.
Walk up go make a left and walk up the street. And Jasper said, are you serious? I'm in run for my life. I need help. And he said, just go up the street right there. And less than 2 minutes, when my grandfather was walking up the street, he heard a vehicle coming behind him. So he jumped down into the ditch to hide. And as it got closer, he found out that it was a tractor. And who it was his good friend who had drove up the road on his tractor. And he was yelling out, Jasper, Jasper, are you out there? Jasper. And Jasper said, yes, I'm right here. And he said, come up, jump on the back of the tractor. So he turned the tractor right back around and drove right back down to his house and drove down to his barn. And he carefully laid down boards. And he said, make sure when you get down, step directly on these boards. And he laid these boards and kept replacing them into his barn. And he hid him under tobacco. And this was very important because they had bloodhounds back then. And if anyone knows the strength of the power of the nose of bloodhounds, anywhere where your scent touches the ground, those bloodhounds will pick up your trail, and they will find you exactly where you are. So after about 30 minutes later, the search and the police, they came up the road, and the dogs led them directly to his friend's front door. And then the bloodhounds turned away and started heading up the road. And they said, he's run up the road right here. And then when the trail ended, they said, darn, someone must have picked him up and given him a ride. And that was just enough to help him evade that search at that time until he was able to get into protective custody of the NAACP.
Oh my God, Jason. Oh my God.
And another notable note is that one of the attorneys that helped my grandfather on the trial was Thurgood Marshall, who later on became one of our Supreme Court justices, one of our Supreme Court judges. Yep. So that's something very notable in the story as well.
Oh my. Did you ever meet your grandfather? Did you ever meet your grandfather?
Oh. A full life, and he passed away in 1997. And even after my grandfather, he was still forced to serve 2 months of hard labor and 2 months in jail for the only charges they could come up against him weren't even self-defense, because was not him shooting the white man, because that was in self-defense, but the charges they came up with him were carrying a concealed weapon, because they knew that he should not have had a weapon on him at that time, because the previous officer had searched the vehicle. So even after he had served his time in jail, there was still a plot to kill my grandfather. And it was on the day that JFK was assassinated, where that was the day that my grandfather, they loaded up all of their possessions, my grandmother and my father and their family, they loaded up all of their possessions on a farm truck, and they drove all the way to Washington, D.C., and they never returned.
Oh my God. I was just stunned. I didn't know the
Yes, ma'am.
detail of that story. Jason, I would love to read your mother Deborah's book. Is that still in print?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. The name of the book is called Dead End Road. DeadEndRoadBook.com.
Okay, I'm going to be reading that. I think everybody should read that book. Oh my God, look what he did.
Yep, it's a very little known. Yes, it's a very little known story in the civil rights movement and the process of the desegregation of the schools at that time. Most people know about Brown versus Board of Education, which took place in 1957, but just because of that case, it didn't mean that all of the schools across the country and in every state were desegregated at that time. There were still several battles and several fights throughout the civil rights movement where it was very tough.
They should have your
It was very tough.
I can't imagine that, I mean, your grandfather should be in the history books. I mean, we should celebrate him. I mean, what an amazing, exceptional human being.
Yeah, and, and you know what? This is just one story of
I
many.
know.
There are probably thousands of countless stories out there, just like this. And the thing is, most people only hear of, some of the more prominent stories as some of the stories that have maybe received, recognition, and in books. But there are many stories like this that are untold.
Wow. And it makes sense that you, have such amazing character coming from a family like that. My goodness. I mean, your character is astounding to me. Thinking, I'm lost for words right now because I did not know all the details to your grandfather Jasper's, the complete story. That's incredible.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, and you're right. It does cause myself and the rest of my family to value education.
Right.
Now we have no other choice. There's been too much of a sacrifice paid, for our education. Not indirectly from from other people of the world, but directly from our family. There's been sacrifices.
Yeah, and know what amazes me about you when you're telling the story, when you're talking about those horrible men, you refer to them as gentlemen. That just sums it up for you.
I know.
You're just amazing. I mean, that's you've done a lot of inner work to get there, Jason Brown. That's for sure.
Yeah, and the thing is, with moving on in life, that's a very important part.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hello, is that Mama behind you?
This is my
I just wanted to say hello.
Yeah, this is Jason Brown. He's lovely.
Is that Mama?
That's okay. This is this is my 90-year-old mother, and
hello.
she visited us last
How are you
week,
doing?
too. Yeah, I'm so lucky to still have her. She's an angel, and she brought me
Oh.
one of my dogs, Wink. Wink only has one eye, and hi, Wink. So thank you for visiting.
Hello. Nice to
see
meet you.
Jason right there? Can you see Jason right there? Right
Oh,
here?
oh no.
That's Jason Brown. He's a football player from St. Louis Rams. You would love him. She read your story. She read all my stories. She loved your story.
Hello.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Yep.
Oh, that's all right.
It's very nice to meet
You're
you.
always welcome. You're always welcome. So,
Yep.
okay.
Oh, that's so cute. She thinks she's interrupting, but really, she's the highlight of our evening.
Oh, that's nice. Did you hear that, Mom? You're the highlight. Yes, she is. She's an angel, really. I'm so blessed to have her.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now my other grandfather, Willie B. Jefferson, who helped to raise me, this July the 6th, Lord's willing, he's going to turn 93 years old. So, we make it a point every year to make sure we get back home and throw him a big birthday party.
Oh, that's exciting. 93.
Yes.
Wow. How's he
A big birthday party.
How's he doing?
Yes. Yeah, he's very blessed. He's doing great, and his memory is as sharp as a tack. He lives by himself. He gets around, wonderfully. I mean, he gets around, very well.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the main things that I know that has helped him to get to that lovely long age is that every morning, not every morning, but every night before he goes to bed, he gets down on his knees and he prays. And sometimes he prays for so long that he falls asleep, down there on his knees beside his bed.
That's sweet.
Yep.
That's very sweet. That's very sweet. Well, I'm so glad you still
Yeah, so
have
he-
him. That's wonderful. Hey, and ask your mother if she's interested.
Thank you.
I would love to put her book on my website, and with a link to her, deadendroad.com, with a picture of the cover. If she's up for that, I would love to have her book on the Insightful Player site.
Yes, ma'am. Definitely. I'll check with her. I think she would love that.
Good. I'm just so touched by that story. I can't wait to get the book. I'll do that right away. Wow.
Yes.
My goodness. where do we go with here? We have so many great stories from your childhood and high school. And my goodness, do you have a favorite story? I mean, I have a list
Yes.
here, but do you have a favorite story you want to tell, Jason?
A favorite story.
I have them all.
I'll have to share with you. Yeah, I know. But one thing that I don't think I shared with you was, when I talk about the sacrifices in life, yeah, I know you've shared before that my older brother, Lynchburg Bernard Brown II, he was killed in Iraq, and on September 20th of 2003, and so. It of course it hits very close to home. The war in Iraq and what goes on, with our military and the rest of the world when it hits that close to home. And when my brother decided to join the army, this was back in 2001, and I cornered him and I told him, I said, you are so talented. I said that there are so many things that you can do. I say you're so gifted with your hands. I mean, he's a wonderful artist. He also did beautiful brickwork, masonry work, for my parents at their home. And I told him, I said, why the military? And he looked at me, without a blink. He looked at me dead in my eyes, and he said, before you can help someone else, he said, first you have to help yourself. And me, at that time, being so immature, I didn't understand what in the world he meant. But he said it with such passion and with such conviction, I had to believe him. And I had no argument against it. And it wasn't until years later, even after his death in 2003, that when I realized what exactly the sacrifices what it meant, and before you can do for others, you have to first do for yourself, and it played and it correlated with one of my views on life, and that is I feel that one of the worst things in life is wasted potential, wasted talent. If you look all throughout the Bible, God has blessed so many of us with beautiful gifts and with wonderful talents, and God warns against burying those talents, not developing those talents and sharing them with the world, and that's what my brother did. He took the gifts that God gave him, and he placed himself in a system that would fully develop all of the potential that he had within himself. And I don't think I've shared with you some of the miraculous and wonderful things that my brother did, but some of the service sacrifices that my brother did was that everyone knows that in war the enemy targets the highly ranking officers and officials, and so it's actually a volunteer and a sign-up duty sometimes to drive around the RVs that when you're driving around a superior officer. And my brother was I found out all of this information after his death, but my brother was always the first to sign up on that list. Whenever there was a new truck that came in with supplies, he was always the first one to be on that truck to help unload the heavy materials that it had on there. Another story that I found out after my brother's death was that there was a little boy drowning in a pond. When my older brother and his convoy, they were driving past a pond, and there was a little Iraqi boy drowning, and they advise all of the military personnel to cease and desist. Do not go and try and be a hero and help a little child in need, because it could be a potential booby trap. Correct? Right. Because they sometimes in war they use children as a booby trap. That child could have a bomb strapped to themselves, or that child could be leading a soldier into a very dangerous situation. But you know, Lunsford disregarded what his officers and the teachings of what they taught him, and simplistically he saw that there was a life in danger. Even though this was war, and even though it's a child, and that individual might be considered the enemy, he looked past all of that and he saw life, and he jumped off of his Humvee immediately, went down and pulled the little boy out, and began to try and resuscitate him and perform resuscitation on the little boy. And for some reason, yeah, in my dreams, it always played out that the little boy was saved. But for some reason, I guess it was years later. It was just this past year in 2010. My mother, just ruined, I guess, my imagination. She said, "Jason, that little boy ended up dying." And I said, "Are you serious, Mom?" I said, all of this time, but I guess it was just me. Trying to fill in the gaps of the story, right. and thinking that my brother miraculously saved the little boy's life, but that was not the case. But it still doesn't take any significance away from the story.
No, I mean, it sounds like a beautiful brother has so many of the same qualities of your grandfather Jasper. And look at all the people he touched by doing that beautiful act of selfless love. My God. I know that has to be so hard. I know. It's such a beautiful story. He's so courageous. And so are you. And so are you, Jason. I'm sure he's up there so proud of you.
Yes, ma'am.
So proud of you.
And that's why, Chrissy, there's so many people that try and bring highlights, to myself and my career, and they say, "Jason, they try and flatter me. They say, "Jason, you're such a wonderful guy. You're doing so much for our community. You're doing this and you're doing that." And you know what? Sometimes I just allow that to just go, right past my ears, because I know that nothing of what I do in life will ever compare, to the sacrifices my brother made in the short period of time while he served our country over there in Iraq. My brother gave the ultimate sacrifice. He gave his life in service. And I wear a size 16 shoe.
Wow.
But yet I know that the shoes that the shoes that he left behind me for me to fill, he left some pretty big shoes for me to fill. So that's what gives me motivation to continue to do well for my family, to continue to do well for others in the community, to continue to serve God and to serve others. That's one of the things that I shared at my brother's funeral. It was a quote from Martin Luther King Jr., and that's that anyone can be great because anyone can serve. You don't have to go out there and do something miraculous, or you don't have to go out there and it's not about even about myself. I mean, I'm blessed with a lot of money, but at the end of the day, when I die, I can't take a single cent with me to the grave. What it all boils down to is our love and our connections and our shared relationships with others, and that's what truly makes us great.
Absolutely. And Jason, since this is so real for you, do you have any tips that you'd like to offer? The viewers that may have lost someone to war, like you did your beautiful brother. Anything that helped you along the way. It sounds like your faith is the biggest part of that, and your respect and honor for him. Is there anything else
Yes, ma'am.
you want to share with our viewers about that? Because it's so close.
Yes, ma'am. The best way that you can cope with the loss of a loved one is to make sure that you live your life to the fullest, and don't live with regrets. Make sure every day. Yeah, and this is a plan that I do for myself, and I know that sometimes it sounds corny or cheesy, but it's true. I wake up in the morning and I ask myself, Jason, what are you going to do today to make yourself a better person? What are you going to do today? Yeah, I'm a husband and a father. What are you going to do today to be a better father, to be a better husband, to to serve others in the community? Because the thing is, sometimes I do think, at the end of the day, all I want to be able to do is look up to my Heavenly Father and have Him look down on me and say that, Jason, you have served me, very well with your works. I am well pleased. But it's not just God. I mean, it's our other loved ones as well. I know that my brother is in heaven, right now, and sometimes, whenever I have doubts on myself, whenever, as well as with my brother, whenever I would have struggles with education in school, I would think, and I would look up, to my grandfather, and I would think about the sacrifices that he made, and there's strength in that, knowing that, their life had purpose, and that strength is passed on to give you and your life purpose as well. So the thing is, it's just like I'm sorry, I'm not sure if it was Einstein, but how energy is not lost. It's only transferred from one object to another. Well, the thing is, all of the energy and all of the great works of what our loved ones did within their lifetime, we can feed off of that energy. It can give us motivation to be better people, and for us to do better works as well.
Wow.
And you find comfort in that, because you really do find comfort in that.
You definitely do. And that's beautiful, Jason. And it just sounds like it's making you deeper and stronger, and he's such a big part of you. And if there's any way, if you can think of how we can honor Lunsford, your brother, through Insightful Player, through anything, you let me know, because this also is a very touching story.
Well, one thing that I can share with all of your viewers right now, it's something that my mother shared with me a long time ago. It's just like Christmas. We really do not have a big importance on the day of Christmas, because we have such a loving family, and we give gifts year round. Mother's Day and Father's Day is not the only day that you should honor your mother and your father. You should honor your mother and your father year round. And sometimes on Mother's Day or Father's Day, I don't even get my parents a gift, because I'll have given them a gift the month before, and I'll plan on giving them a gift the month after. You see what I mean? There's no designated time in order to honor a person. And so for all of my viewers out there, I know that there's a big significance on Veterans Day, but I just ask that you give recognition to our veterans every day. Right. Whenever you see someone that you know that is a veteran, and they're walking around, do not wait until Veterans Day, to tell them thank you. just start up a conversation right then and there, and tell them, hey, yeah, I just want to thank you for your service and everything that you've done. And if there's anything that I can do for you in your life, just please let me know. And it makes a world of difference.
That's a beautiful message. You're right. We all have to pay more attention to that because they're giving so much of themselves for us. My God, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And for our freedoms.
Oh my God, absolutely. Oh my God, absolutely. And
thank you.
It sounds like you're getting a lot of strength from your brother. You're doing. Sounds like you're living your life in honor of him, and it's a really powerful message too, to honor everyone you love all the time, not just on birthdays or holidays. Because we don't do that enough in the world. We get too busy, we get too wrapped up in our lives, and we forget, and we take for granted, and we're so unconscious we don't even realize we're taking people for granted. So that's really inspiring. Actually.
Right.
You have a book in you. My goodness gracious. Are you working on one?
I probably do. I just have to start writing it down.
Wow.
Yep, I just have to start writing it down.
Yeah, my God, Jason. You have a beautiful message. Wow.
Thank you.
So all right. So I feel more. I feel that I'll become more aware. From now on. I mean, forever. I think. The messages that you have. I think you're going to be shifting people. A shift is permanent. A change is external and temporary. But your message is so deep from the heart that you're touching souls. Very much tonight. And I know that's who you are anyway. I'm just so grateful to have you doing that here. With us tonight. Thank you for opening our eyes.
Thank you. And thank you for allowing me to share with your viewers.
Oh, God, you kidding? Oh, God. I love having
yes,
you.
And thank you for allowing me to share with your viewers this evening. Thank you.
Don't go away yet. Do you have to go?
Oh, no, I'm not leaving.
Okay,
no, ma'am. I'm still at your disposal.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You have just so many stories that you told me. Everybody, when I did these insightful player interviews, I did them in one phone. I did them on the phone, and I did them on one phone call. But with Jason, we were on the phone twice. I'm like, he had so many great stories to tell me.
We were.
And I think you came into the world with that desire to really teach people to use their talents, because that little story you told me about when you were in elementary school with the little cutting your little sandwiches up and the Skittles. Can you for your homework, for rewards?
Yes.
Can you share that more? It's so amazing. You're only in elementary school.
Yeah, it's all about you have to find out what motivates people, and most times what motivates people, you have to get down to the core and the root, and it's incentives. And for myself, of course, whenever I would get home from school, at first, I would throw my book bag in the corner, and I would turn on the television, and I would just look at TV and procrastinate until. It wasn't even my mother. I had to find within myself, what motivates me. And I had to give myself an incentive. And of course, I'm a large individual, and food is a very moving and motivating factor in my life. So I would tell myself, if I had 4 subjects, math, science, English, and social studies, I would make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and I would cut it up into four portions, 4 squares, and I would sit at the kitchen table, and I would say, all right, Jason, well, you're hungry, you want a snack, but you're going to work for it. And after I finished my math, I would treat. Yes. After I finished my math, I would treat myself to a square. After I finished my English, I would treat myself to a square, and then so on. But luckily, if I had a pack of candy, say Skittles, now that's where it really got fun, because kids love candy. Yes, so if I had 20 math problems, I would pour out 20 Skittles on the table, and after I finished each math problem, I would treat myself to a Skittle. And you better believe that all of those Skittles were gone, because I would finish my homework.
That is such an endearing story. I can't believe it. That you had that
Yep.
level of discipline at such a young age. Elementary school. And then that continued.
Yes.
And then that continued.
And you know what?
What?
Yes, but you know what? That's what determines the true drive of a person and the true work ethic of a person. How someone behaves when no one else is around and no one else is looking to give oversight. Now, of course, if my mother was at home at that time and she was standing over my shoulder, of course, the disciplinary force there would have forced me to make sure I got my homework done. But if you do not have that disciplinary force, that driving force behind you, what are you going to do? Your drive. What are you going to do to motivate yourself when you're by yourself and when no one is around and no one is looking? And it is extremely tough. Extremely tough, and you will find that some of the people that are most successful in life, if they are not around groups, because groups, if you surround yourself with good friends that have good work ethic and you have that shared common goal, that's a great thing. But when you go home and you're by yourself, what is going to motivate you and push you to do the right things? And that's what every person has to ask themselves in order to get that spark, driving within them to push forward onto their success and their goals.
So you always ask. So you're always asking yourself, like, how did I do today? Did I give enough? I mean, do you ask yourself questions like that? Now?
Yes.
You're always
Now,
monitoring.
yes. Now going back to that same. Yes, that same self monitoring. You have to give yourself oversight as well, and you have to be realistic with yourself. And sometimes it even takes looking in the mirror. And everyone's heard the songs before. I'm looking at the man in the mirror. You have to be real with yourself. And just as I would get up in the morning and I ask myself, what am I going to do today to make myself a better person? It's budgeting. You budget for your day, and then at the end of the day, you account for what you've done. Now, how many people out there have placed a budget, have made a budget for themselves or their family, and at the end of the month or the end of the day, you find out that, whoa, yeah, you made a plan, but you did not stick to the plan. You've either blown your budget or you've strayed far away from that plan. So you have to be real with yourself, and that's the second half of it, accounting. So at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, Jason, exactly what have you done to make yourself a better person? Did you follow through with your goals? If there were any distractions or if there was anything that made you go astray, exactly what was it? Do you have to deal with that in your life? Was that a good thing or a bad thing? And you have to move forward. And that self process of that self realization, I correlate that to the same thing as a computer of what we're using right now. Any tech guy will tell you that a computer needs to be regularly shut down and rebooted. If you ever throw a new program onto your computer, your computer will advise you, okay, I need to shut down and restart back up. Right? Because your computer needs to be able to put things in their proper place and have itself organized. Well, the thing is, your brain is a very powerful computer, and if you do not take the time to put things in its proper place and actually take the time to sort out your desktop, right? Then when it comes down to it, you're going to have a lot of disarray. You're going to be pulled in every direction, and you're going to have a very disorganized life. So at the end of the night, that's what I do. I shut down my computer and I put everything in its proper place. And in the morning time, hey, guess what? I wake up, I turn that computer right back on, and I'll create a little task sheet, things for me to do, and I'll organize my desktop. That you have to, if you're serious about being a professional, if you're serious about being successful in life, you have to go about things in a professional manner. And what I tell kids is that, look, you don't have to play football. I tell kids that, with the discipline and the work ethic that I have, I said I made up my mind years ago that I was going to be a millionaire by the time I was 30 years old, irregardless of professional sports. And that's because there's a science behind being successful, and there's a science behind being being wealthy. I can teach any kid how to be successful. The thing is, you also have to develop those skills of being a professional yourself, and putting everything in its proper place, and also having the vision. And that's one of the main problems that I see that kids have today. Kids will have tremendous goals, set for themselves at the beginning of high school, and they'll say that, yes, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to be successful, I want to go to college, and they'll say that their freshman year, and somehow when they're seniors, they have deviated far from that plan. There have been so many obstacles, distractions, set in their way where they lost focus.
Right.
And as Dr. Martin Luther King says, you must keep your eyes on the prize. And somehow, in losing that focus, so many kids fall down by the wayside. And that's one of the things that I'm studying right now, to help kids get back on the right track, to be able to not only visualize their success, but also have the determination and the follow through to be able to actual reach those goals.
Well, that's wonderful, and a piece to that I must add, but I'm very prejudiced, is to add coaching to the mix, and that's one of my goals, is for every child to have a coach.
Yes.
And that's what Insightful Player, that's
Yes.
the vision I have with Insightful Player. That's the vision I have with Insightful Player. You to get out there, with Insightful Player, to do some programs, and then have follow-up coaching to all your programs, to all the kids. It's not just like a one-time thing, but an ongoing,
Yes. And I'll share with you, Miss Chrissy, if it had not been for it seems as though it was strategically done. If it had not been for the men, the strong men as coaches that God blessed me with in my life, I would not be where I am today. But because, even though I know that I said before that, I had those goals and dreams and aspirations, and I thought that I had the power, to follow through. But yes, you are right in bringing light to that. My high school coach, Randy Long, if he had not, been on me every single day, and he was the first person to tell me and share with me the potential that he saw in me as an athlete. And just like my brother told me when he cornered me about the military, Randy Long, said that to me with so much faith and so much conviction that I believed him. And for some reason, I stepped out on a leap of faith, with this man. And I thank God that I had the follow through and the wisdom and the vision to be able to do so, because he did not steer me wrong. I didn't even play football my freshman year in high school. I started playing my sophomore year, and by the end of my junior year, I was offered a scholarship to play for the University of North Carolina, and that's because everything that man told me to do, Randy Long, I did it. I mean, I listened to every word that he told me as though it were the gospel coming from Jesus Christ. When he told me to run a certain way, to block a certain way, to lift weights a certain way, I did it because I knew that he cared about me and my future and my success, and that caring and that love, that relationship that he shared with me, I know that's a major disconnect with a lot of our youth today, because I'm not sure if you've heard the quote before. They don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care.
So true.
Have you heard that quote
I
before?
love that quote.
Yes. And the
I
thing
love
is,
that quote.
yes, yes. And the thing is, I don't know who came up with that quote, but it is very true, because I will visit schools and I'll give a 30-minute motivational talk, to some inner city kids, but yet I know that in the back of their mind they're saying, oh, Jason Brown, he's just here to receive, a little bit of PR. At the end of the day, I'm going to leave school and go back to my house, and he's going to go back and continue to make money in the NFL and go back to his mansion. Even though I'm giving them, wisdom, and I'm pouring and I'm sharing, knowledge with them, they don't care at that point in time.
The kids don't
There
care.
has to be a continued relationship.
Right. That's why life
Yeah,
coaching.
the
Right.
kids don't
That's why
care.
life
What,
coaching.
what I'm saying, they don't care because they yet do not realize how much I care about them. There has to be a continued relationship with those children, and that's why whenever I do something with the kids, I'll make it a point that I'm not just going to go visit the kids at one time. I'll try and make it a number of times. I'll try and make a number of visits to a school, maybe out 3 or 4 times. Yeah, I have to get to know those kids' names. Yeah, I have to try and figure out some of their problems, some of the things that they're struggling with. I have to get them to open up to me. Now what that does is that means that I'm not able to just go out there and spread myself out amongst dozens of schools. What you have to do is it's not about quantity, it's about quality, and the quality of relationships with the kids that you're trying to start and build with out there, because that's when you're going to see lasting impacts on their character, and you're going to see improvement in those areas.
My goodness. You should be my spokesperson for my vision of where Insightful Player is going, because it's exactly what you're talking about. I want life coaches to follow up all your programs and stay with the kids, and really help them sort it out and get
Yes, ma'am.
your messages, And I'm keeping you so long. One thing do you want to just let people know about your wisdom for life before we wrap up, because that's amazing too.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Wisdom for Life is a church ministry that I founded back in 2008, and its mission is aimed at sharing godly wisdom with kids and with the youth. Wisdom that's mostly found in our Holy Bible. But the thing is, everyone knows that there was a court ruling several years back that is taking prayer out of schools, and coincidentally, after prayer has been taken out of schools, people have to understand that religion offers a moral backing, and it's rooted in ethics, and there's so many wonderful things that come from religion that yes, it should be taught in schools, but yet ever since then you have seen a downward spiral of negative activity dealing with the kids. I mean, kids are going through record dropout rates. nowadays. Even in my hometown, I'm sad to say it, Henderson, North Carolina, they have a graduation rate of 50%
Oh my
or
God,
less.
that's
That
awful.
means that 1 out of 2 kids is not graduating from high school, and this is a small town, and these are numbers that you might see in some of the harshest of inner city school systems, but yet 50%, that is horrible, completely horrible. And then you have to ask yourself, okay, you look at the lack of morals and ethics, of an ethical foundation. It's not there, but yet these kids are going to grow up and they're supposed to be able to function and 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 give to our society. It's not going to happen. There has to be a revival in the church, and there has to be a revival in the school system. And before I go to schools, that of course they tell me that they want me to motivate the kids. Now I will not go to a school, and I won't just try and force kids to to pray, or I won't throw the name of Jesus or God in there. But those biblical principles of love and discipline and work ethic, I will share those things,
That's great.
and that's my faith, and I know that those things. Now, I know that those things, come, from biblical wisdom, and I share those with the kids, and so even though, they don't know that I'm giving them a sermon, I'm secretively, giving those kids a sermon, at that time.
Well, that's the way you can reach them. That's
So
smart.
yes, ma'am.
That's
So
smart.
so Wisdom for Life, yes, 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 definitely. So Wisdom for Life, we have goals and aspirations of sharing biblical wisdom with the youth. It's also a mission of ours is that I know that you can find a Bible in every hotel room in America, but you cannot find a Bible in every family in America. I know that there are tons of inner city kids that barely have one book in the house, least yet a Bible.
Right.
So, we know that we have to be able to warehouse Bibles and get them, to the kids, that need that resource of that biblical wisdom. And our website, which is currently under construction, and it will be up in a couple of weeks, but it is wisdomforlife.org, and that's the number 4,
Right.
wisdom number 4 life.org, and it is going to be an interactive site. It will also have a request sign-up sheet where anyone, any youth that would love to receive a Bible, I'm going to make sure I get a Bible, in that kid's hands,
Wow.
free of charge.
That's amazing.
And there's also going to be wise entertainment as well. We know that on television they're constantly pushing the boundaries of censorship, and even on the internet, it's very hard to even find decent censorship. Parents really have to be careful what they allow their kids to see on television, and the websites they allow them to go to online. So on the Wisdom for Life website, there's going to be wise entertainment
Wow.
where you'll have videos, music, as well as poetry and Christian jokes. That kids will be able to come there and get their daily feel of yes, ma'am, their daily feel of wisdom and good entertainment.
That's
Without having to go to negative sources.
wow. That's incredible, Jason. Once your website's ready, let me know. We'll put a link up all on the resource center as well as the.
Yes,
and,
ma'am.
We'll talk. We'll have to talk about your mother's book, about your Wisdom for Life. There's a lot for us to talk about, and getting coaches out to support your programs. Um, that's fabulous. Well,
Yes, ma'am.
I just
Thank
I
you.
just can't say enough about how grateful I am that you came on and that you're a prophet. You're out there doing beautiful work in the world, and just let us know how Insightful Player can help you. We just really are rooting for you, and we want to be a support to what you're up to, because that's what you're so congruent with Insightful
Thank you.
Player. So thank you so much. You really are a prophet, and we're going to have you back on again.
No, thank you for allowing me to share.
Oh yeah, You have a lot to share. And it's great how you are.
Yes, I look forward to it.
You come back as many times as you want, And thank you so much. And we're going to talk soon.
I will.
Okay? I'll be in touch.
Yes, we will. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for listening and viewing in.
Yes, thank you everyone, and
all right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Jason. And we'll see everybody next Tuesday at 7 o'clock. Thank you for this extended, wasn't he great? This extended Insightful Player TV tonight. And may you all have a wonderful week and many blessings to everyone. Thank you.